Well, hi again, and welcome to another edition of Coffee with Craig. This is where myself, Craig Hamilton Parker, has a chat with you all about what's going on in the world from the standpoint of a person like myself who's a psychic medium. So we try to take a psychic view of what's going on and perhaps a spiritual insight on what's going on. And today's a live show, so we've got questions coming in already. I see from the chat coming in. So if you're coming in live, don't forget, please get nice, clear, formulated questions for me. And hopefully we'll have an interesting show. There's a lot going on in the news at the moment, and a lot of secrets I feel are going to be revealed very soon. And I'll share with you some of my thoughts about this in some of the predictions that I'll make in this show. Anyway, so welcome to Coffee with Craig. Well, hi again, and welcome to the show. So if you're here for the first time, don't forget to subscribe, of course. And if you're here, come here regularly, and you're addicted to the show, hopefully, give us a thumbs up, because a thumbs up helps with the algorithm. So it helps it to rise up the charts a bit, I suppose. That's the way we have to do things nowadays, isn't it? But there's a lot of new people joining us today, I think, because I've had some press exposure recently, both in the Metro, which is a major sort of London newspaper, and also in the Daily Mail today. I see there was an article in which they picked up on the tanker disaster that I predicted in the last episode we did. I'll pop it up so you can have a look for those of you who haven't seen it before. I hope I'm not showing off here, but here's a clip from what happened on the last clip. This is what I got right last time. This is for March. I saw a ship also in trouble as well, and I felt as if there'd be an oil tanker problem coming up soon. But I felt as if there was some pollution thing with this, because I felt this was something where it's pristine. Why have I got all small? What's happened here? Oh, they've changed the way they do things. You see me all small, guys, in the corner? Oh, what's happened? We've got a problem here, I think. I can't be doing a show with me in the corner. Is that what you're seeing? I'm in the corner. Oh, no, come on, StreamYard. What have you done with me here? What's going on here? What's this? Yes, it's small in the corner. Let me just... Sorry, guys. Oh, this is ridiculous. Yes, it's small in the corner. We can't do that. Feeling this is for March. Solo layout, found it. Okay, sorry about that. They've obviously done an upgrade on the software. So here we go. Heath Robinson style of show. Oh, good. We're back in business again. Okay, yeah. So where was I? Nobody puts Craig in a corner. I see you say that. Yeah, they do, they do. Yeah, okay. So there's a lot of new people joining us from the Daily Mail and also from Metro, I think. So if you're new here, please be free to ask questions, but obviously we don't want people if you don't agree with psychic things. So obviously don't want you sort of spamming too much. So yes, so I made that prediction about the boat, the big disaster in the North Sea, which happened just a few days ahead. And just like before, I did it with the Trump thing a few days ahead. And I quite often get things in short spasms like that, because Jane and I used to do a program called The Big Breakfast on British television, which we used to predict next week's news today. So we used to try to hone it down for what's happening in the next week. So I'm trying where I can to get now, because I've made the yearly predictions, I'm trying to get things that are kind of close to happening at the moment. And actually, just as a little side note, that when I was saw that disaster in the North Sea, one of the things that I saw in my meditation at that time was, of course, what happened in my family years back, actually, because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the lifeboatmen. Because my granddad on the father's side of the family, the Parker side of the family, he was on a boat called the Rohilla, that went down in 1914, I think it was. The Rohilla went down, and it was a hospital ship that was a passenger ship that had been converted and was bringing the soldiers back from the war. And it was one of the biggest sort of disasters of all time in the British naval history in terms of a boat going down off our coasts. And it was a real story. You know, Grandad would tell it to us. They had to pull the lifeboats right across the Yorkshire hillsides to get to to get them in, and it was a massive rescue event from Whitby, which is on the coast of Yorkshire there. And there was 145 people were saved and 85 were perished. And my granddad was one of those that was saved. He was only a young boy, and the captain tied him to the railings of the ship and put his captain's jacket on. So I believe when they found my granddad, he was in a captain's jacket, like an admiral, tied to the side of the boat. And his brother was on there as well. And both were rescued. There were some of the last off. They were on there 50 hours stuck on a sinking boat. So we've got some great stories of the sea in our family, because our family roots come from Southampton. Even the Mayflower and the stories that Edgar Allan Poe actually predicted about my family in the sea. So I think sometimes the sea, I'm going off a bit, but you might be interested in that. The sea is a very important thing in my predictions sometimes. And like Edgar Allan Poe told some things about the people that would be eaten in my family on the sea. There's a video I put up about that. And also in weird coincidences often happen in my family too, connected with that as well. Like when my granddad went back as an older man, much older man, he went back with my grandma to the Whitby Museum of the Lifeboats there. And he actually, the museum curator was telling him about the shipwreck. And my granddad said, I was on that boat. And he said, well, I rescued a young boy. I was the one that got on there and pulled the young boy off the railings. And it turned out to be my granddad. You know, so weird connections happen, don't they, like that? Weird connections happen. And Edgar Allan Poe, when he made the story about my granddad's cousin at that time, who was shipwrecked on the... he was much older than him then, because it goes back further in the history family, was shipwrecked on the Mignonette, and it went down, and they ate him basically because they were shipwrecked, and they ate him. And Edgar Allan Poe had made the story, told the story in his story Arthur Gordon Kim of Nantucket, and had named the boy as Richard Parker. It actually happened exactly as the Edgar Allan Poe story came out, you know. So a very weird coincidences. I made a video about it. I've compressed it down a bit too much to understand the story properly, both of those. But I just thought I'd share those with you, because I was thinking about the sea in particular, you see. Now I done that prediction recently about the tanker, but I was seeing that the Vedic astrologers have been saying about this big alignment that's happening with the planets at the moment in March. We have a very unusual alignment. We have in Pisces, which in Vedic astrology is called Meena, all the major planets, or a lot of the major planets, all lining up in Pisces. Pisces in Western astrology is ruled by Neptune, but in It's ruled by Guru or Jupiter in Vedic astrology. And we've got this alignment at the moment of the sun, the moon, Mercury, Venus, Saturn, Rahu on the north node, and Neptune, all coming in with Saturn about to come in and make a conjunction as well with them all. So this is a rare conjunction in Pisces. Now, Pisces is the sign of water. Obviously, you've got a water sign with the Pisces, but it rules a lots of things, such as, disasters at sea are often much more likely when we get this type of alignment there. Now, I don't claim to be, I'm a psychic more than an astrologer, but I just thought this was interesting because we also got, like you said, we've got the lunar eclipse coming in a few hours' time. I see there. Alexander, you're saying, yeah, I always love your comments. Thank you for defending your side of arguments on the comments too. Whoops, where we got missed you. There we go. We have, and it's interesting that we have quite interesting alignments for energy at the moment, particularly with what's happening with all these things all at once, really. I mean, we got similar things happening in the air at the moment. So the time, if you look at the planetary if you look at compare some of this to some of the other things that happened in our past with this is what Nostradamus used to do. You used to look back and see what was similar. When was things like this similar? Well, in our times, similar alignments, in some ways, very similar things happening at the time of the Watergate scandal, for example, in 1973 was that. And also when Edward Snowden leaked the NSA surveillance program, all that's kind of in the air at the moment. So my feelings are that this energy that's around at the moment is kind of about the revelation of secrets in many ways. Pisces is often notorious for being very secretive people, actually, and they get a very secretive sign both in Western and in Vedic astrology in many respects, and it's associated with hidden knowledge, mysteries, illusions, subconscious realm, things like this. And particularly with some of the more unusual aspects we're getting out there at the moment with all what's going on, this 7-planet conjunction, I think it's putting a certain energy in there. And I think me as a psychic is starting to feel this a little bit too. I don't know if you guys feel similar with this energy that's in the air at the moment. So it's about secrets, but could it be that also secrets are being kind of brought to the surface? One that came to mind first of all was Nicola Sturgeon, who's saying now she's resigning from politics. She's a Scottish politician here in the UK. And my thoughts, first of all, in my meditations earlier went to that. And I predicted she would be kicked out of power pretty much because of corruption. And it kind of happened. And I also, you might remember, if you look back through my predictions through the time I've been on here, I said the same about Salmon, that there would be corruption in the Scottish Parliament. More or less, that almost has destroyed the Scottish nationalist parties, really, on many respects. So one of the things I feel is more is going to be revealed about that. Even though she's leaving politics now and it's no longer newsworthy quite so much, I feel there's something else hidden there, something that there's definitely something very intense about that. And similarly, I felt about the Welsh Assembly too. Now, I don't know anything about that, but there's we've got like the 4 nations here in the UK now, but I think there's something going to happen with the Welsh Assembly and maybe a political expose or corruption or something to do with Wales, right? Okay, soon. So there's nothing in the press about this whatsoever. You can go and scour the press about this. Nothing said about this, but I'm just feeling something's going to be brought to the surface like that. And other stuff politically around Keir Starmer as well. I feel there's going to be a big one around him in due course. I don't think it's right now, but there's a big exposure eventually going to happen with him. Interesting how he is now mimicking Trump, actually, as being here as a left wing. I always come to Trump, don't I? Sorry, but he's so dominant in the world at the moment. But he's mimicking Trump when he's saying I think today Kate broke in the news that he's doing something to the NHS and stripping out a big department, NHS England, I think it is. And so here's a big quango we're going to get rid of. And I thought, well, I mean, this is just like Doge. And it's interesting also that sometimes people that have been coming to me for readings as well, it's been very interesting that people have been worried about their jobs often because we're getting very similar sort of mindsets in businesses now, where we're saying we're going to strip out all the waste. We're going to strip out, I want to be like Trump. I want to be like Tesla, and they're stripping out all the waste and almost like an excuse. So we're getting a kind of a worldwide movement in this, a zeitgeist of some sort, a spirit that's going through industry at the moment, where we're going to see much more of this. Now I'm seeing that happening, but I would predict also that this is going to happen more. We're going to see so much stripping out of waste, not just because of what's happening in America, but we're going to see it in individual businesses. We're going to see it in the UK, and very last of all, we're going to see it in Europe, and I suppose it needs that. But it creates problems, of course, in the world, and already we're beginning to see the sort of the dangers of what can happen when we make radical political and financial changes, such as what is happening in America. Internally, I think stripping out waste is a good idea. Possibly we're going to see a lot of dangers ahead when the shake-ups coming with the we're putting down all the tariffs on everybody. But I think it will eventually get through all that. Economically, the short term now is going to be difficult. It's going to be a very difficult period over April into May. I feel it's going to be a very difficult period for things like Bitcoin and things like cryptocurrencies, again, because it's been jumping around a lot, all these things. But I feel some very serious problems ahead economically right now, coming up in the next few months. So you've got to be very careful where you put your money and the type of things you put it into. And I'm seeing, as this is all happening, a big scandal, a big financial scandal coming up. It's coming up soon, and I sense it's going to be probably more to do with crypto type of currencies than banking itself. But I'm not completely sure. But I get this sense that we're going to get a really disruption, a bit of a bombshell going under this. And it's a corruption thing in finances. So this is why I feel that we're in a period of like a secret war going on in many ways, because I feel a lot of the kind of exposures that are being shown here are almost like blackmail things coming from Russia. I know people always blame Russia for everything, but there is a war going on with Ukraine. And if you think about Putin, he's always been a man from the KGB, and he still thinks KGB. And many of the things he does and many of the ways he works, I think he works by subterfuge, undermining things. It made me wonder whether that shipwreck that I saw, because shipwrecks happen all the time, but it was a big one. Yes, it was a major one. But I had an odd feeling about it too. And I know there was Russian crew and a Russian captain, and the news seems to be a bit vague about all this. And it was carrying American aviation fuel, which would have had military purposes. Was there some sort of, we're going to show you something of the sort of thing we can do? Was there some hack or something, or some compromise, or somebody blackmailed, or something like that was a deliberate accident? I don't know what you guys think about that. Am I going off too much? Is my mind running away with me on this, or am I really seeing something that's going to come up in the future? Will we see soon again some inquiry into this, that there's something untoward going on, something clandestine that's been going on there? So this is a period, I feel, where there's going to be a period ahead of a lot of these type of cyber attacks, particularly. I feel there's going to be attempts to undermine banks, undermine things like air traffic control. For example, I think we had a number of airplane crashes a while back. I think there was a lot behind that where things were being undermined. Now, whether that's coming from Russia or China or things like that, because we get those sort of things all the time, there's a constant war being waged, I suppose, on what you could call the dark web, in the hidden worlds, trying to get information, trying to steal resources, trying to steal our data, trying to steal our research and knowledge, but I just feel as if there's going to be a lot more of that coming up in the way ahead, very shortly, and this is in this period coming up. So we're going to see things like banking failure. We've had a few of that, but I feel this is the tip of the iceberg. These are not just simple updates that have been going wrong. I feel we're under attack. There's a secret war going on, my feeling is there will be some form of outage, some form of compromise. Like X, for example, that happened, didn't they? They were hit too. I get a feeling there's going to be something bigger than that, though, something that hits all of us, something that might hit the Windows system, or might hit Apple, or hit something, some perhaps interface of some sort that's important to us. And, X has happened, but I feel it's something like our own computers, where we've got to be very, very careful. So back up your data, guys, because I feel there's all sorts of things going on. And I'm seeing a big exposure of offshore tax evasion. And this will have political consequences as well. So those are some of the things I'm seeing ahead. Oh, and one more thing before we go on, and I'll take some of your questions as well. One more thing. I feel they're going to start talking. Oops. I've been interrupted. The camera blipped. You might not have seen it. I was just about to talk about aliens, right? Because I feel there's going to be a bit of a release of that information soon. Now, Trump and others have talked about releasing the Kennedy stuff and releasing but I sense it's coming shortly. I feel we're going to get some revelations about UFOs, and some of I think people might be a little bit disappointed with some of it, but I feel that there's going to be some revelations about UFO stuff that will take us back perhaps up to the 1970s, not something like that. I feel there's a bunch of stuff that's going to be released that is going to be of interest to those of you that are interested in that sort of subject. Now, this is also a time still with the water business going on with Pisces. Now, I have said in my earlier predictions at the beginning of the year about this problem around the Pacific. I feel earthquakes and volcanic activity around the Pacific, and particularly around Japan, I talked about. So could this be the time for that to happen? Because I feel that this big planetary alignment, does it also have a gravitational effect, perhaps even on the Earth? I don't think it does, but a scientist might refresh our memory about that and knowledge about that. But I felt as if this could also be the time for those things I was talking about at the beginning of the year in my 2025 predictions. So I'm going to start taking some of your questions shortly. But before I do that, I'd just like to put a little ad up just to give me a little bit of time just to get myself in the right frame of mind, because I want to where did I put it? Oh, I've got lots of technical problems today. In fact, perhaps this computer thing that I'm talking about is starting to happen already. Just bear with me a second. I've lost the file. Oh God, what a mess today. Sorry, guys. Hang on. Give me a minute. At least you know I'm live. Here we go. Okay, I'll just put a little ad. Now, I'll just put a quick little ad up because that would just give me a time just to have a look at some of your questions that are coming in. I can star a few of them. So if you put your questions in now, because the chat on the side runs very fast for me, so I'll have to sort of put your questions in. No chat if you don't mind for the moment, and comments, and I'll see if I can highlight some of those. So let me just put the little advert up for a moment first, while I have you enjoy interacting with me on programs like this and Coffee with Craig and so on, you'll really enjoy joining me on Zoom, because on Zoom I offer two types of things. First of all, I do demonstrations of mediumship in small groups, round about 15 people or so. So there's a very high likelihood you'll get an in detailed message. And also with those sessions, we have questions and answers at the end. So it gives everybody a chance to interact with me in some way or another. So those are my kind of group psychic readings that you can see in the description below. But I also now offer what I'm calling, it's a webinar, I suppose, but it's what I'm calling my psychic school. So you can join me for some mentoring, for some guidance. We'll involve things such as meditation with that. I'll be teaching what we call the mechanics of mediumship, basically how it works. And again, lots of opportunity for you to interact with me so I can help you with your spiritual journey. Again, small little groups, but very powerful little groups and very good energy to it. All in the description below. So have a look at the link and I hope to see you. Anyway, have a look now at some of the clips from those sessions. She's going, woohoo! Because I feel that it's about time, you know. It's like she tells me you're also quite interested in astrology.
Yes, I'm doing astrology. Yes, exactly.
Studying astrology.
Yes,
She had a habit of rubbing her hands like this, didn't she too? Was this a habit she had all the time? She'd go get her doing that and like to do this as well with things. So she's there, and although she's a comfortable build lady, I feel that she would like to jump or dance around quite a lot. I don't know. I'm seeing her bouncing around. So she was quite a big lady, but very agile, you know?
Yeah, she did that all the time. Oh, goodness.
So I just see her there, though. So she's just seeing some green shield stats, but she was absolutely fanatic about those. And
We've been talking about green shield.
You were talking about it. There we go. I knew there was something especially significant about the green shield stamps. Away again, get a stillness within, and they'll be able to give you thoughts and feelings, often through feelings, about what you should do. What's the next step in your life? What should I do about this problem? Ask the question. It's the same thing when you do mediumship. Ask the question: are you a man or a woman? Right? Are you a friend or a family? And so, you know, like I say, ask in your own work, in your own inner work, in your own meditations. When you're tuning into spirit, ask. We need to do it by building it up. This is what my teacher always taught me. You build it gradually. You gradually get the sense, and this applies to everything. We're going to talk a lot about the guides tonight, but it's a sensing first of all. What do we sense with what the spirit's given us? What? But I thought, pow, you know what? How did you know that? And then once you found the leaf, it all flows. You know. So how did it know that? How did it know that my mother called herself Vicky, but her birth name was Ethel? They can never work that out. And loads of facts. So, I mean, my first one particularly was just one fact after another. And now I didn't have any prior knowledge of the Nadi. I was one of the first Westerners, apart from a few odd people in the West that had found it, used it. And I mean, it was just life-changing. There we go. Here I am again, guys. Okay, good to see you. Okay, some interesting. I have to put an ad up really, just so that I get time to check out some of your questions. So I've frantically been going through some of them. I have to do it pretty quick, so hopefully some of them aren't inappropriate. First, say thank you to a couple of new members that I just see coming on there. That's always nice to see that. Thanks. If you want to become a YouTube member, you can see it in the description below, and also in the description below, those workshops that I'm doing are also there as well if you want. So I'm doing some new ones, as you saw in that new little video, for psychic development, so that those that want to join me for that. Little groups, 15 people in a group, but it gives you a chance to interact with me as well. Right, let's have a look, see what we've got. So I've starred some of them. I'll come and get some of your comments in a minute as well. In a minute too. Well, there's an interesting one. Will the mysterious disappearance of Malaysian Airlines MH370 with 270 on board, 270 people on board, ever be solved and wreckage ever be found? Well, I think it will eventually. You know, one of the reasons about that is because right back when it happened, I was writing for a magazine, and that magazine said, "Oh, we want to ask a number of psychics the location of MH370, and so we'll wrote down where we thought it was, and I gave where I felt it had gone to. Now, unfortunately, I can't remember where it was from where I was, but it was different. I can't remember exactly what I put in it. It's quite a long time ago now, isn't it? But I saw it in a different area to where they were looking. I felt I had to go north. Now, the plane, I believe, was going south but I wanted to go north, and I felt that's where they missed out on that. So seek outside of the area that you think. I mean, I know some parts of it were washed up, and that was could have indicated anywhere, because it could have been taken by the tides and things like that. So I just felt north of where they're looking, and in the thing that I wrote for the magazine, if it is ever found, I did give a specific location that I felt it would be at. So we'll have to wait and see if that happens. So it'll be an interesting one. Again, this is one of those ones, you see, that I was talking about, the energy of the time at the moment does kind of favor disastrous things and sudden failures, and particularly bad weather and tsunamis and things like that are all part of that energy of the Pisces thing at the moment. But anyway, so that's what I feel for that one. So that's some thoughts about that. So let's see, maybe in the future we'll know what happened. It was a dreadful event, of course, and you know, but it's obviously so interesting when something is so unsolved like that. Someone's saying here, I hope your predictions for a change of government in the UK will manifest. Yeah, that's something I do feel. But the changes will, the Chancellor will go first. I feel she'll get kicked out sooner or later, because it's just going so wrong with that. I think Keir Starmer, you know, this is opinion, I suppose I'm giving you now, but with a gut feeling to go with it, though. I feel with Keir Starmer, he can't get rid of anybody yet. He's got to try to save face. They made such a hash of things, and I think most people in the UK feel they're making a hash of things. Even the people that voted for them feel betrayed by the way it's going on. But my feeling is that he can't get rid of his chancellor. She's useless, but he will get rid of her in due course. Right now, he's saying we've got to get some money in. Where are we going to get the money? We dare not tax people anymore, because we taxed them to the hilt, and everybody's going to start screaming. So he's having to do what normally the Tory party would do, which is cut down on the size of the of government departments and so forth, which I think is a great thing to do. Give him due credit. That's a great thing to do, and that will help, and will help bring money in. Unfortunately, I've known people that have worked in government departments all their lives and never lifted a finger, and retire with huge pensions. And I think, well, that's not fair. And there's so much corruption going on there as well within government departments, particularly in planning, where there's money to be made when planning rules need to be bended, and so many other areas. And I do hope that we're going to get a sort of a review of the corruption in government that's going to come out from this. So I see it as a good thing. I know people have been coming to me who've been losing their jobs because in America, because they've you know, the jobs are being cut out, and everybody's little mini Trumps now, that their CEOs are. But I feel that we're going to see a lot of government corruption exposed, and that maybe that's going to be exposed because they're going to be saying this is a reason to get rid of people. Reason we have to get rid of it, and keep the unions quiet when we start seeing people kicked out. There has to be a corruption element to it. So yes, we will see a change eventually, but I'm not quite sure when it will happen. What's this one? I haven't even read this. Russia in financial turmoil. Putin sacrifices young men to die in meat assaults, riding donkeys because they lost their tanks and equipment. What's coming next for Putin? A coffin. Okay. I find Putin an interesting character. He's almost robotic, isn't he? A bit like he's like an aggressive version of Keir Starmer. He's another robot, left-wing people. I feel with Putin, I feel that, see, he's had it nice and easy so far with Trump, because Trump said, look, you're doing the right thing. We can do a deal. If you do a deal with me, we can stuff Ukraine, more or less, you know. But of course, that raises the stakes again. And now he goes back to Ukraine and said, go back to Ukraine and said, look, we can do a deal. If you pay me, basically, I'll have your mineral reserves. There's very simplistic thinking. that's going on there. I do think they will eventually get a deal. And I have said this before, but it does mean some losing some land. And I described it right back at the beginning of the war. I said that Ukraine would push back from Kiev, because at that time I made the prediction Kiev had been taken. The country looked like it was all going to be taken over. I said that the Ukrainian people would fight harder than you've ever expected, push the Russians back, which was an incredible thing they did there, really. Push them back to the borders. And Russia, I think, as you're saying, DJ, here, is not as strong as they like to appear. They're running out of equipment. You could push them back further, but I feel a deal doing, and I feel Ukraine will have to lose some of its territory. It will have to lose the Crimea. I see a slither of land, but not as wide as it is at the moment. I see it being maybe halving it, and saying we'll do a deal like that. The danger is if they lose the territories that they've taken in Russia. Russia's going to put all their efforts into that there. But also, again, another thing I was seeing when I was watching the news the other day with it, we haven't seen any boats go down recently. I get the sense Russia's moved its boats out of the Crimea because it's too dangerous there for them, because they know they can get hit. But just as we had that drone attack recently on Moscow, I feel they're going to sink another boat. There's another ship going down. So that might also raise the stakes again and say, look, we're not finished yet, Ukrainians. We can still keep fighting. It must really push up their determination to win, mustn't it? So I feel they're going to, even with limited resources, even without American help, I still feel the fight's going to go on a bit longer. So, but there will eventually be, it won't be as quick as Trump wants it. I don't see it happening shortly, but I think we might get a deal sometime this year at some point. That's my thoughts about that. And now there's another one about Zelenskyy. You said that he would be wounded, he will survive. Which advisor will betray him? Yermak, Tatarov, Podolak? Don't know. Yeah, because there is. I said there would be an attempt on Zelenskyy in one of my earlier videos. Just trying to see it. Hold on, bear with me. I'm going to be quiet for a minute. I'm getting hit in the arm. So I've had it's caught me in my right arm. I've been shot. So it's a bullet. It's hit me in the right arm here, and he's it's raised his stakes. So, but just like Trump, it raised his stakes by an assassination attempt. It raises his kudos again here a bit. But I feel, and it might have hit the side of my body here, but not gone into the lung. So I've come in at an angle like that. So watch your right hand flank, Zelenskyy. And there could be a betrayal there. I feel there's somebody who knows about this going on. I'm not sure I can pick up of those names. Yermak seems seems like a feeling of the name, but I don't know for certain. Yuri sounds right actually, but I'm not sure it's Yermak. Yuri would be the name of the person that is that done the betrayal, and it happens on his own territory. I feel it happens while he's in Kiev. So there's my thoughts about that. So that's something I feel is going to be near, because I was feeling it last week or so when we were talking as well. Okay. Okay, do you want to ask about the disclosures? These are the UFOs. I still call them UFOs rather than UAPs. There's a great documentary being released tomorrow. Oh, is it? Age of Disclosure. It's supposed to be the best documentary. Oh, that's interesting. Maybe that's what I'm seeing. Maybe it's the movie I'm seeing. Let's go and watch it. But I still feel there's something else coming up. I didn't see more on that. I think they have, when it comes to UFOs, I think we have been visited long time ago. There's too much evidence for that. Now, whether we're still being visited or not, I don't know. I get the feeling that a lot of the stuff that people see as UFOs may not be real. But you see, I feel that the way you would travel interstellarly would be very different to the way we might try to go to Mars. We don't physically send a spaceship to Alpha Centauri. We do it through consciousness. Now, when I talk about consciousness and things, you see, I often talk about, and so many others do too, about the fact that we're all interconnected. We're all one. If I can do telepathy between somebody who's sat in America when we're doing a reading, so I'd be doing a Zoom reading like this, and I'll pick up on that person and about their life and things like that. That means my telepathy can, which it is basically mind-to-mind communication of some sort. I'm picking up things about a person, can work over any distance. They can be sat in California and I'm sat here, and the next one calls in and they're in Hong Kong or somewhere else, and the readings work like that. And other psychics do the same, of course. I'm not the only one that does this, but we interconnect. So is there any limit to distance with telepathy? It doesn't get, the signal don't get weaker if I connect to someone in America than if I'm talking to someone in London. So my feeling is there is a way to connect. Now, I've seen nutcases talk about communications with UFOs, and perhaps I'm putting myself in that same category here by talking about it. But my feeling is that we would do something, we can connect somehow. There's a way to connect through meditation or through inner work. Maybe AI might be a way that we will connect with them in the future. Who knows? There's something we don't know yet, but I feel it happened in the past. And it happened, this is where we see like the Naga, particularly in India, that interests me with this. But there's so many other things like, other people have talked about. I'm trying to think of my names are going. I'm getting senior moments here. Yeah, Chariots of the Gods and all that. I've forgotten his bleeding name. God, 70s, it starts to happen. Yeah, so I feel that we've done it in the past. There were ways of doing that, and I think there are ways of being in two places at once, as it were. Some of the city powers will allow a person to be two places at once, and quantum worlds suggest that things can be in two places at once. That's how we would travel, some way that we would understand about bilocation that has already been discovered, I think, by the ancients. But anyway, it will be interesting. Let's have a watch of that program, shall we? And that sounds quite good. Where have you gone? I've lost you. I've lost your link here. So you should be off the screen by now. So let's have a look. Let's have another one. They say never, but I feel that I don't feel that America, USA will pull out of NATO. Lots and lots of threats to it, and it comes really very close. But what he's doing, Trump's doing, is it's a way to get people to step up and start spending more money. And if I was an American taxpayer, which I'm not because I'm in the UK, I would feel pretty fed up with the fact that my taxes are going to support and police the world. Meanwhile, everyone else is not putting any money up with all the crises that are going in the world. And really, can the USA look after Europe and Russia and Taiwan and so forth, and have places like Guam and all the other places and stations around the world? It's a hell of a lot of expense. And if you look how much USA spend compared to Europe or compared to any other country or compared to China as well, it vastly outstrips everybody. So I think it's fair what's being done there. Everybody should step up, and we should really, what I would like to see, and I feel that in the long term, and I'm talking a long way ahead, because I speak sometimes about the idea of a golden age, but I see far ahead in the future that there will be a time when the nations of the world will all disarm, but there would be one lot of armament, which would be a type of United Nations. It won't be the United Nations. It will be something new that will develop, just as we had the League of Nations originally developed into the United Nations. Eventually, the United Nations will morph into something new, but there will be a world police force in centuries to come. But you won't be here to test me on that one. I'm doing a Sylvia Brown here, making predictions that are going to be way past my lifetime. Though she did get it right with COVID, we got to say. Right. Well, that's more of a comment, but I think that's quite an interesting comment. I think we do have to get the corruption out of things. And like I say, I feel there's going to be a huge momentum starting right now where this anti-corruption stuff is going to be used much more. And it will be an excuse also to start stripping down quangos and so forth within governments and in businesses, as I said. Now, I don't think that's going to be... I don't expect you're from Canada. When you say, I feel Canada should be absorbed by the United States or call itself New Barat. That's not very good. The choice is clearly considering the legacy Trudeau has left us. Oh, you are left us. You are in Canada. My thoughts with that, it will calm down a bit with Canada and that. Basically, what's happening with those with tariffs and things and being so outspoken about really degrading Canada by saying you're just like another state. I mean, that's not very patriotic for Canadians, is it? I feel it will calm down. But there will be tariffs. But I feel that what will happen is the tariffs will become more targeted and not on the high levels, and we come down again. I think it'll be a little bit different with Mexico, but Mexico and Canada are kind of Trump's experiments because he wants to see what he can do, particularly with China. And the China thing's going to be later on the agenda. It's already on the agenda, but big tariffs to basically bring manufacturing back to the USA. I think all of us, all the countries of the world should do that. We've got no manufacturing industry here in the UK, have we, anymore? How much have we got? Nothing. We invent everything. We invent the video, we invent the computer, we invent just about most of the modern inventions in the world come from Britain, but we never manufacture it for some reason. Okay, just a few. That's an interesting one. The mother of Elon Musk is apparently a witch and a Satanist. I've not heard that. I just read Elon Musk's biography, which was quite a heavy read because it's a big one, but it was a brilliant book. I didn't say anything about didn't say much about his mother in it, actually, come to think about it, just his father, who he hated. There's an interesting psychology behind Elon Musk. I'll have to do a full video on him and see what I can pick up about the man. I love him and hate him at the same time. He's a strange man, but I think a lot of what he's doing is necessary. And it's obviously disruptive, but it's being mimicked. People always ask about crypto. It's not taken off for the next few months. I feel if it was investing in crypto, you want to wait to the end of the summer. Then it starts to move again in a positive direction. But I always feel with cryptocurrency predictions, I don't always get close with them because it's a form of gambling, and as soon as you start gambling on psychic predictions, I find they go. I can't get them. I've described this before. Someone used to ask me for readings, then go and gamble on it, and I thought, well, I'm not going to do this anymore because it won't work. It certainly won't work with the casinos and things like that. Oh, I've got a few super stickers. Thank you, guys. That's always nice. You can always give a little donation. That's always nice of you. It helps me to keep going here. Thank you again. Thank you very much. And I see some of them come in later. And so thank you for those that also come in when I'm not live. I don't know if I should leave Cyprus and come back to the UK. Everyone's coming over here. That's a personal question. Thank you for your your donation there, but I can't answer personal comments on these. But you can also come into the patrons. We do some patron ones sometimes where we Zooms, and I give, and also my readings that I advertised earlier on. Okay, well, I'm going to just pop in now and see what's coming up on your live stuff now, because I've been chatting away for some of them that I starred while we had that little advert. I'll just put a few comments up now, okay? And guys, put your comments in below as well after we've gone live, because we get some really interesting debate here. No, I don't feel Gavin Newsom will be elected president in 2020. It'd be someone new come to the field in those days. And I think we're going to get another Republican after that. Another sticker. Thank you very much. That's very kind of you. You're setting off on a trend here, guys. So this. Okay, you're going a bit fast. Okay, I'm just going to put some of your comments to see what you're saying. Ooh, can't catch you quick enough. You're coming in too quick. That's why I have the little advert, you see. What's that one? Oh, South Africa. Yeah, South Africa. Elon Musk is, of course, South African, isn't he? South Africa is going to continue to go through quite a lot of crisis. I feel it's got still some rocky paths ahead. Political collapse is already beginning to happen in South Africa, but I feel that you will get out of it in the end. And one of the things I feel that there's going to be, South Africa's done very well in the past with diamonds and copper mines. In our family, there was a copper mine going back in South Africa, I believe, and things like mining. I'm getting a feeling, I said at the beginning of the year about the rare earth metals going to be a big thing. I get a feeling there's going to be a new discovery there of rare earth metals in South Africa. Maybe it's already happening. Don't know anything about this, but I feel it might help the economy in a big way. Yes, so I feel there's hope for South Africa, but I still feel it's going to take a long time before South Africa has true stability there again. It's becoming a more dangerous place, unfortunately. So I see. Whoops! I'm trying to catch some of these. Oh, another one. So, hello, Craig. You mentioned Australia will be hit by another virus, presumably cause a lockdown. Yes, it's not yet, but that's in my other predictions. But that's a prediction. They don't all come up this week, but that's true. And I said that it would not be viral, but it would be like bacterial. The next one, but it would be caught, it would be beaten before it becomes a worldwide epidemic, but it would be a serious contender to COVID, but not as bad. I don't know. I've never heard about that. That's interesting. I don't know. I can't answer that. The first I've heard about it. And will the SNP cling to power in 2026? No, I think, in fact, another prediction I'll make is that this whole idea of the four nations and things of having separate assemblies in Wales and Scotland and Ireland and so forth, not quite yet, but eventually I see that all changing and actually ending. And I see the end of regional television, for example, also when the BBC is stripped down to a smaller size. I don't see Keir Starmer doing that. It'll be the next government after that, possibly a reform government. But I see the BBC being stripped down to basics, local news being stripped out, and also things like the Welsh Assembly and things like that, which I mentioned about early on. All those things will be brought back under the umbrella of one government. And even the centre of government in the UK will start to shift away from London in due course. I feel it going to another city. This is looking a long way ahead now, but I feel that Parliament won't, the Houses of Parliament will become a sort of museum piece in due course. Some years, long time yet, but it will shift further north as we begin to refocus the way Britain comes. But that's for longer predictions, but I'll have to do a proper video on that later. Okay, I think we've done enough now. So thanks again for coming to the show. Always remember to give me that thumbs up. It's so important on these shows. This is kind of like a chit chat. I hope you like it, this style. I do different videos on here. Sometimes they're made in advance. Sometimes Jane comes on. And I did notice that one of you did ask, actually, I saw, where did you say that? I saw one of our regulars. Yeah, there you go, Alexandra. And Alexandra, there's a lot of Republican people on this channel, but Alexandra always has a fight with them. And I think it's always quite interesting. Sometimes you stand alone, and I do appreciate the way you've been following me for a long time, and just to get quite a battering on there sometimes. But I think it's good to always, every side of the argument's important with things. But are you and Jane going to do your Friday show again? Haven't seen you guys for a long time. Well, we've closed the studio down. This, as we speak, the equipment in the studio is winging its way to Italy. We're trying to get our Italian spiritual center up and running. We still need a lot of funds. We have a few people who are helping with that, who promise to help. I think they will, because they're nice people. But if you have a look again in the description below, can you help support it with, I put a GoFundMe link up there now. We've got a lot to raise. We've got a lot to get together to make it. But we hope to be able to do some of the Craig and Jane show from Italy in due course, but it's going to take time, because we want to build it into a center where we can kind of set a meditation place, where we can start to bring some of the people that I know who are also very sort of highly advanced spiritually people together, to make our shows sometimes from there, and also open it up to you guys so that you want to come and visit there and become part of it. So we're trying to make a spiritual center that is kind of a little bit different to the normal spiritual center. It's a little bit like a hub that reaches out. It's a bit of like the style they would do in India with an ashram, where you get a center for the energy to spread out to other places. We will do some more. We're trying to do some from home. Jane and myself are both massively busy at the moment, so the setting up problem is a bit of a problem. But Jane's got her own channel too, as well, which you can go and look for as well. But we're going to do some more. Don't worry, we will. Okay, thank you for that. Anyway, going to have to say goodbye, and I'll see you soon, guys. Bye for now. If you look back at my earlier predictions, and in particular the predictions I made on the newspaper, the Sun's website, I did actually say on there, the actual words were, there will be a flu epidemic linked to bioterrorism.
And my thoughts are that Liz Truss will make it to the final, be the next PM. I think she will actually have a final battle between her and Rishi Sunak. We've not seen the full end of Boris Johnson either, I tell you. But Rishi Sunak actually will eventually, I feel, be the next leader of the Conservatives. So I think there's going to be a few conflicts that Britain's going to be drawn into, including I think Russia is going to take some moves against Ukraine. I think she will make it past her platinum jubilee, which comes up this year. But I think after that, we'll see a sudden and quick deterioration in the Queen's health. And I think we might lose the Queen towards the end of 2022. There's going to be a huge backlash from over the Netflix programs and screening, because I feel it comes out at a bad time. Charles will come to become King Charles, but his reign, I feel, will be short. I said that Prince Charles would be hit by an egg. And of course, there it is, all in the press today. Marvelous person she is. She does something extraordinary that could even put her life a little bit at risk with the way she did this. Okay. Is there something also there that's not been spoken about fully? Did they also discover something with Kate that wasn't quite right? A huge swarm of people knocking the doors of Europe and America. And I feel that Ukraine conflict is going to be a kind of a grinding conflict that goes on and on. I also feel that there's something going to happen in the Middle East as well. I feel as if there's going to be a sudden and unexpected thing happen in the Middle East. So I feel they're going to take it into their own hands, and I feel we're going to get a strike from Israel. This is going to be one of the significant things in 2023. I've said it before and I say it again. I feel Israel, with the help from the USA, will strike the Iranian nuclear facilities. I said that there would be an earthquake that would shake New York. At this time, I've been sensing that for a while that there's going to be a big earthquake of some sort. And this could well come up during April period.
I'm seeing a bridge collapsing, actually the whole infrastructure of it going.
I predict something very dark happens to President Joe Biden. He's been pulled from power, sacked, as it were, and quite close to the election time. But I kind of sense it's more to do with illness, perhaps, senility, and people stopping him because of that. So it could even be that a new candidate will run for the presidential nominee. I predict that Trump will win the November 2024 election. And I feel very strongly that the black vote is going to move towards Trump. See him as a sort of a bit of a cool guy. I can't see Trump being put in jail despite what they're throwing at him. I can't see a jail sentence with him. But I get the feeling one of the candidates has an attempt on the candidate's life. Could there have been a plan to assassinate either him or Trump, perhaps? There's going to be an assassination attempt on Trump, I think. And that will fail. But he might maybe get wounded or something like that. A hit or attack on our airplanes, on passenger flights or even freight flights. Because I also had at the similar time, I was also seeing this image of helicopters on fire as well. I seem to see like the west of America on fire and the east of America underwater, huge winds. And I actually saw, just like we had a major problem here in the UK where a tower block went up on fire, I see a tower block deserted